Hi, and a very good afternoon to you. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. Before I begin, I want to just say a big thank you to a few people yesterday that chipped in a bit of support for the observatory. I say it in every video. We have 5,000 people on average watch one of our videos. Yesterday is a big day for us because on the 17th we pulled the Trimag and the Magnetosphere SD cards out of the equipment. And we pinpoint the magnetic North Pole. Now let's first of all just think about that. We are the only company in this world with a Trimag system that is delivering that information to you. The only company. So I think for that reason alone it's well worth supporting. Now I know you're already looking at the title here, Bill Gates Land Holdings, and we're going to get into that because I think if we analyse this a little bit more critically, we can work out what's going on, and we'll talk about that. But I just wanted to say a huge thanks, and if I can just encourage a few other more people to jump on board, because there is something very big going on. It's not just related to the crises that we are about to face as a species, but there's also something else going on with what these billionaires are up to, and I think we can work it out, and that's what we're going to discuss. So huge thanks to those few people. Let's face it, without you we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have the Trimag, we wouldn't have magnetometers in the countries that we have. We wouldn't be monitoring one of the largest and rarest anomalies that is taking place. For the last 10-11 years now I've been trying to deliver an informative service to people on various things. In the last few years we've took on a little bit more than what we normally do. It's moved not off the subject, but it has moved into a wider range of topics and anomalies. We're monitoring CO2, jet stream behaviours, climate, and now we're going to be looking at something else. I think the problem starts, and I'll get straight to the end, right? The end game can only be one thing if you really deeply think about it. And you know what, I'd really appreciate your comments down there in the comments section so I can get your ideas, because when we brainstorm problems, like I noticed in a previous video, we can all come up with opinions, and usually when there's a lot of opinions that are all the same, we're probably not far off the truth of what really is going on. And in my opinion, the only thing that these people like Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and a lot of others could possibly be ever after, the end game being your labour, because it's your labour that puts cash in your pocket, and it's what you spend that cash on is what they're after. They're after your cash, but basically if you go a little bit further back, they're after your labour. And it's because of the capitalist system that we live in that allows Bill Gates to buy all this land like he has. And it's because of the capital system that it allows people like Jeff Bezos to monopolise these systems. Now, we know Bill Gates is invested a lot of money in the cosmetic and pharmaceutical industries. He's got a foundation in those companies, but he's going after a lot more, and I'm going to explain it. But Jeff Bezos, let me tell you the problem with these people and allowing them to carry on like this. First of all, the capitalist system won't stop someone accumulating trillions of pounds, because that's the capital system. There is no cap on anybody's earnings. But there's a big problem, because they become emperors. They end up having, like Bill Gates has and a lot of other corporations have, more power than the elected governments, and that's a big problem because we have no control over them, as we have seen with the silencing of social media. It's controlled by corporations. You see, we have on one hand freedom of speech, but there is an area now which is concentrated on the internet, which is controlled by corporations, and a lot of our lives are revolving around internets these days. Jeff Bezos, just a little bit of history, started off selling books And he sold those books at prices that nobody else could afford to compete with and put them out of business. And when he did that, he cornered the market. And therefore he was able then to put the prices up and regain the losses. And he's doing this in other areas. And, you know, this is the same for Bill Gates. He's cornered the market. He owns Microsoft, a platform that a lot of people use to run their computers. It is the BIOS system that runs a computer. Without a BIOS system, the computer is useless. So he's got a market cornered, just like Jeff Bezos. But it's what they do with the money that they accumulate then thereafter, because there is like almost a psychopathic approach to their business, where, you know, and I say psychopathic because a psychopath has no emotions to, you know, somebody being hurt. You know, like Jeff Bezos couldn't give a damn that he put small businesses out. You know, that was paying those owners of those small businesses their mortgages and putting food on their table. And now, you know, he has the market on that. He has trodden those people into the dust, and they no longer exist. And this is exactly what Bill Gates is going to do. Now, just look at how vast the spread of land is over most of the states. I mean, we're looking at probably 16 to 18 states in America that he's got large portions of land. And towards the south of America, you can see that those land portions are dramatically increased in acreage. So there is obviously a plan he has in place. This is his plan unfolding. Now, a lot of people say he's trying to snatch the land because he wants to go into agriculture and wants to control the food. Well, I'll guarantee you one thing. Yes, that is absolutely true. He's got that in mind, and that's probably why he's chose to invest more in the south of the country. It's probably one of the better areas of the planet to grow food, or at least in Americas. But he's after a lot more than that. He is going to go after farms. He's going to go after the oil industry. He's going to go after the fresh water in those regions. And he's going to go after producing energy in solar, wind and gas. He's after everything. And he will get it, because the capital system is not putting any caps on the levels of what these people can invest in, how much they can invest in. And, you know, there is no control over the capital system. And I know some people will say, well, that's fine. But I tell you now, it's your labour that they're going after. There is a way of overcoming this. And I feel if you can become energy sufficient, you can sustain yourself with a small amount of food. You still will always need an income, because, you know, the Amish people try to avoid being detached completely from, the business of governments and things, but they found out they was going to get taxed. So some of the stuff that they have to produce now has to be sold so that they can pay the taxes on the land or other things. So there is no way out completely for any of us, but we can reduce the amount of labour that we give them, and I think that's what we should be looking at trying to achieve by becoming more self-sufficient. One thing we need to do is start becoming self-sufficient in energy production, whether that is solar panels, wind generation, or if we are living and have access to a river where we can put a hydro generator on it. You know, those are the things that we need to start doing. Or, you know, when things get too bad in a particular country, look at emigration in a serious way. I don't think Bill Gates really cares too much about climate change and the magnetic pole reversal. What he cares about is the monopoly over certain sectors. He's going to go after water, fresh water. Trust me, we've seen corporations like Coca-Cola drill deeper into the water-bearing strata, so that when everybody else is well, that live in these local areas run dry, because somebody is pumping out the water beneath their point of depth in the water Sartre. He has the monopoly then to sell the water back to the people. And we're seeing this if we're looking at countries like Mexico. Mexico City is in a catastrophe at the moment for water. Most of the residents there are having to rely on water bowsers, water delivery trucks to get the water to them, and they're paying a fortune for it. And of course that means their labour is being consumed by the activity of earning money to give the water companies. And you know, I've just told you here and there, you know, right here, sorry, and now, the problems that we are going to face in the future, with not just with climate and the pole shift and grand solar minimum, the problem with the capital system allowing people like this to do what they're doing. And I guarantee you, absolutely guarantee you, you've already been affected. And you know what? If you're a farmer, you're going to go out of business, just like them bookstore owners went out of business when Jeff Bezos sold his produce cheaper than what they could probably even get their hands on it for. That's how you get a monopoly. So, you know, there's no question about it. He's going after the food industry there and the farming industry because of where his biggest stakeholdings are in the country. He's also guarantee you, he's going after water. And I guarantee you, he will be working alongside with the government and their net zero plans to use some of this land for solar panels, wind turbines. But he also knows that there is the minerals on the land as well, which is another perk, because he can use the oil there for his pharmaceutical industry. Because let me tell you something now, if we think that the crude oil that comes out the ground is mainly used in the petrochemistry industry for diesels, paraffins, jet fuel and petroleum, then let me tell you that is the biggest waste of crude oil, and there are thousands of byproducts off crude that are used in the pharmaceutical industry. If there was no more crude oil on this planet, all the pharmaceutical companies would go out of business tomorrow, I guarantee you. That's how much crude oil is important. So just to use it, just to keep combustion engines turning is a little bit of a waste. But you know what? It is absolutely necessary in this day and age. We've all seen what's happened in California recently with the queues of Tesla cars backing up hundreds of yards down the road. Hours and hours people are having to wait to charge them, and California want to go all the way and completely ban in California combustion engines in cars. Could you imagine the size of the queues if that was the case tomorrow? They don't have the infrastructure. A lot of this energy that is charging up these cars is being produced by gas turbine generators, which is pumping CO2 into the atmosphere, it doesn't really matter anyhow, because you know that 0.4% of carbon in the atmosphere is negligible. You know, when we look at it, the land and the oceans produce more, way more, 97% more than humans. What controls do we have on that? Absolutely none. So, you know, when we're trying to control just, you know, the 0.0012% of carbon that man actually puts into the atmosphere, it's ridiculous. The money that is being wasted right now is just ending up in people's back pockets, and they're waxing themselves rich off CO2 taxes. You see, they have the monopoly on CO2. They have persecuted a gas molecule in our atmosphere, which is plant food, basically. If we reduce CO2 to 200 parts per million, we halved it, or more than halved it, we would kill off all the biodiversity on our planet. They're not thinking straight. And I don't think this is right. You know, we all should have an equal opportunity to have a slice of the pie. And what the Jeff Bezos Bezos, and the Bill Gates are doing is being very greedy. They are having, in some terms, half of the pie to themselves, or 3/4 of the pie to themselves, and they're leaving, the millions of people to share just what is left. And, this is terrible. This is, I really cry for humanity sometimes, because there is nothing that most of us can do about this other than try and become a little bit more self-sufficient and be aware of the possible things that can happen around us at any given point in time. We have enough on our plate, humanity does right now. We are not learning from the mistakes made by our ancestors on this planet. I'm talking about, the failed empires of the world. We are not learning why they failed. And most of the reasons for those failures was the inability to migrate. And we can't do that today because of borders. We have trapped ourselves in little cages which do span thousands and thousands of square miles. Yes, it's true, countries have, millions of acreage. But when you try and cross a border, it becomes a little bit more different. If you want to live in another country, it becomes a little bit more different. You find that there is a fence, and you have to try and get over that fence politically, in some way or another. So, for most of us, there isn't an opportunity to migrate when things go really bad. I'm just saying that, there is a plan unfolding here by Bill Gates that will affect everyone. Jeff Bezos has his plan, but there are all those other billionaires and rich and wealthy elites out there that have their plan. And when you come to the bottom line of that plan, there's only one thing that they can be after, and that is your labour. And we have a real big problem today with the amount of labour we have to give in exchange for what little we get back for it. And that is a reflection on the wages that we get paid for our time, because it keeps us going back week after week to do the same thing again. And the problem is, if we go back 30 years, 40 years ago, the Platonic household, the structure of that household was completely different to what it is today. And I'm just going to give you a little glimpse into the future of what it will be like in another 10, 15 years. So what am I talking about then? What was it like 40 years ago? Well, one member of the household could go out to work and bring back enough money to feed his wife and his family. Now that's changed, and you know that. The wife has to go out to work, and so does he. And then you have to pay childcare if you've got a family, someone to look after your child whilst you're doing that, on top of all the other bills. So that secondary salary that's now having to come in to, help with the bills and things, is losing traction because it's paying for things alongside that, like childcare and other things. But I'll tell you what it will be like in 10, 15 years. Your children's labour will have to help contribute towards the family. And this is the way it's going to go on. Things, unless they're changed, are not going to improve for human beings. And it comes down to the capital system, which is, in my view, extinct. It's past its sell-by date, and I'll explain that. If you're a logic thinker, you'll understand and probably agree with me that we live in a time now where there has never been so many people on this planet. And we also live in a time where there has never been such high tech. Now the problem is, when you have a high-tech civilization like we have, and we know what that high-tech does, because every time a new technology has come out, somebody has lost jobs. So we live in a dependent world where people need to participate in this capital system by, exchanging some of their time, labour for money, so that they can participate in this system. And when you have a system that is evolving with technology, what's happening is the amount of jobs are shrinking by the day. Now, if you add an increase in population to this equation, you see at some point it breaks down. So the inevitability of what we are seeing and witnessing right now is going to fail. It is going to collapse because it cannot sustain its model. You don't need to be a scientist to work it out. You just need to have, which a lot of people don't have these days, is the affordability to think. Because your time is now being taken up by you having to exchange that for labour to participate in the system. It is heavily flawed with problems, the capital system, because here right before us we are looking at one of them, just one of them, one person which is allowed to persecute tens of thousands of farmers across the United States. I told you how they go about the business. I told you what Bill Gates will be after. And trust me, you can take it to the bank. I thought this was a conversation that needed to be had with people, because a lot of the time people don't understand what's going on around them. And that is because they haven't got the affordability of time to work it out. There is no coincidence that most of Bill Gates' land pockets are in the south of the United States. If you look at the numbers of acreage, they are vastly increased all around the south. That's for a specific reason. And there is also a reason why he has scattered his land purchases all across the United States. It's because this is a monopoly which is due to evolve very shortly, and we will all feel the repercussions of this. I'm telling you now, if you're a farmer in the United States, there is a wolf chasing you right now. And there's nothing that you can do to stop its progression right now. You are powerless to stop it. And he will get you, I guarantee you. But I will also warn the rest of the people that your labour is being chased down by that wolf as well, because he is going to get the monopoly over the water, the fresh water. He is going to get monopoly over the food, and he is going to get monopoly over the energy production, and he will get monopoly over the minerals and crude oil. So watch out. Guys, it would be awesome if we could raise a few bucks for our observatory. We do talk about a lot of other important issues on this channel, and we do have to invest money in equipment, because we're not like some of the channels that just regurgitate news. I hope you will agree with me on that. We are doing something a little bit different here at the maverickstar Observatory. We are absolutely watchmen for our brothers and sisters globally. There's a link down there if you want to help support what we do, and I really hope you do. And I'll say what I usually do: you take care of your family and loved ones, and be a shepherd and a watchman for them, because there is wolves about. As always, bye for now.